Hi everyone, I'm Liberty Doll and this is Liberty Update. Late last week, CIA Director John Brennan put out a memo that FBI Director James Comey and Director of National Intelligence Jim Clapper now all agree with the CIA that Russia interfered with the election. Despite reports by the Washington Post, this has been a point of contention between the agencies and various members within those agencies, as even in October, November, and earlier this month, both Clapper and the FBI suggested that they were actually looking internally at suspects within the DNC as the source of the hacks and the WikiLeaks emails. WikiLeaks, too, claimed that their sources were from within Washington. The news of this internal memo was originally broken by the Washington Post, who also broke the news earlier in the month that the CIA had definite, undeniable proof of the hack, but attributed the news to a secret assessment and anonymous intelligence officials. At the time, this claim was pretty widely challenged, with other news outlets coming out and saying their anonymous intelligence officials at the CIA called the Post article a, quote, flat-out lie. Secretary of State John Kerry also questioned the validity of the claims last week when he made comments at a press conference that he didn't put much stock in, quote, anonymous intelligence officials, and even used the air quotes as he said it. Even members of the House Intelligence Committee have been questioning the evidence, as they have allegedly been told that there is evidence, but no one will comment on or actually reveal it, even in supposed secret meetings. However, CIA and FBI officials still refuse to comment on the Post's story, and the claims of the memo once again rely on secret meetings that, despite the secrecy, allegedly make the hacks, quote, quite clear, while saying Russia's goal was to elect Trump, while also saying that the CIA and FBI don't think the hacks had any actual single purpose. Requests by various senators and representatives to receive briefings on the matter have largely been denied, and some, like Devin Nunes, have reported that the, quote, secret assessment has been secret even to the House Intelligence Committee, never mind the rest of Congress. Former NSA officials, such as William Biney, claim proof shouldn't be an issue, as the NSA would have digital footprints of the hacks and would be able to use those footprints to identify the source. But the NSA, too, has supposedly failed to come up with any information. Meanwhile, Obama has publicly warned Russia of retaliation for the hacks. Besides the lack of overt evidence, many are questioning the Washington Post's information and alleged CIA assessment for a couple more reasons. First being that the CIA has long been accused of a, quote, ongoing culture of misinformation, and was blasted by the Senate Intelligence Committee for it as recently as 2014. Second, despite these internal memos, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence told Reuters that investigators within the agency are still largely not in agreement. Third, the Washington Post is owned by the founder and CEO of Amazon, who also secured a $600 million contract with the CIA for building a private cloud for CIA data keeping. The Post is in fact no stranger to CIA partnerships, and a former Post journalist, Carl Bernstein, wrote in 1977 about the CIA's effort to infiltrate news media and spoke of over 400 journalists involved in the plot. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Tim Weiner flat out named the Washington Post for collusion in his own piece about the history of the CIA. He claimed that the CIA chief Alan Dulles would frequently call both the Washington Post and the New York Times in the 50s to edit breaking news stories before they went public, pull reporters that reported things he didn't like, and plant stories to fabricate specific public narratives. Documents revealed in 2004 proved that the CIA was involved in a misinformation campaign against Senator Joe McCarthy at that time. Dulles was also directly involved in a misinformation campaign to gain public support for a coup in Iran and Guatemala. In the 1980s, CIA agents used the Washington Post as a tool to post blackmail material to force a specific official out of the agency. A similar incident occurred again during the George Bush years. Yet another incident in the 1990s served to silence information that the CIA was involved in drug trafficking. In addition, most of the reports of Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction, which later turned out to be false, came from the CIA and were fed directly to the Washington Post as well as other closely associated news outlets. Nevertheless, even after being criticized for publishing false and misleading stories in recent weeks, the Post continues to treat anonymous CIA information as fact. However, even if the evidence exists, it would mean that Russia attempted to hack the election not by altering election results, but by revealing the actual emails and inner workings of the Clinton campaign and DNC. So once you boil it down, the accusations are that the Russians attempted to throw the election by telling the truth about Hillary Clinton and her campaign. As far as the WikiLeaks hack costing Clinton the election, the jury is still out. 538 conducted an analysis of exit polls and Google Trends to examine what influence the WikiLeaks dumps had on public opinion of Clinton. 72% of Google searches for WikiLeaks from June on were conducted in October and the first week of November, compared to only 50% for the FBI in reference to the FBI investigations. However, Clinton's drop in the polls doesn't line up with the WikiLeaks surge, and in fact, her poll numbers rose throughout October and did not begin to dip until 2 weeks after the start of the dumps. So while the WikiLeaks documents may have had an effect, there is no single moment or document to point to and say, this, right here, cost her the election. Meanwhile, the mystery around why the Department of Homeland Security hacked Georgia's Secretary of State and their election activities continues to unfold, as both Kentucky and West Virginia also revealed that their election agencies had been hacked leading up to the election. Like Georgia, both states were also able to confirm that the hacks were linked to the Department of Homeland Security. Records show that the Department of Homeland Security hacked into both election results and the voter registration system in all 3 states on several separate occasions. These states have been told that it was due to a computer error that caused normal activity to appear as hacking in the system. However, none of the agencies involved have been able to replicate this supposed error. Georgia's Secretary of State has now gotten the National Association of Secretaries of State involved in the search for answers. He has also written to President-elect Donald Trump for help, but has yet to receive a response. In a defense ministry meeting this week, Putin talked about the need to strengthen the country's nuclear forces, straying from U.S. and Russian agreements to limit and reduce nuclear arms. Trump responded on Twitter by either agreeing or starting a social media Cold War pissing contest by calling for the U.S. to strengthen and expand its own nuclear arsenal. Trump and company have offered little clarification if the tweet was in solidarity with or in response to Putin's statement. Trump Communications Director Jason Miller said the tweet was in reference to growing danger from terrorist groups, but also what Miller called, quote, unstable and rogue regimes. He did not elaborate if this meant truly unstable nations or just countries that we're mad at. About 70 employees of New Mexico's Department of Health fell ill with food poisoning after the agency's holiday luncheon last week. As of Monday, the health secretary reports that the agency has still not uncovered the root of the illness, but believes it was due to cross-contamination of food items and a specific bacteria chain that the U.S. Department of Health also claims is one of the most common causes of food poisoning. Lols. A new ruling from the Sixth Circuit Court has found it is both justified and reasonable for police to use deadly force against dogs when executing a search warrant so long as the dogs are moving or making noise. The ruling came after Mark and Cheryl Brown of Battle Creek, Michigan, petitioned to hold the officers accountable after police chased their dogs into the basement and killed them during a search. They argued that the killing of their dogs violated their constitutional rights, specifically an unconstitutional seizure of property under the Fourth Amendment. Neither Mark or Cheryl were criminal suspects, but police had received reports that a drug suspect by the name of Vincent Jones frequented the home. Police said that they received word on the way to the home that Jones had already been found and arrested, that Mark Brown was home on a lunch break, and that there were dogs on the property. Officers still went to the home and handcuffed Mark upon arrival. Mark again told officers that there were 2 dogs inside the home. Police claimed that once inside, the first dog lunged at one of the officers, which he testified in court meant that the dog moved, quote, a few inches. He shot the dog, and both animals fled to the basement, after which officers Klein, Young, and Case followed the dogs down the stairs. When the wounded dog began barking at the officers, Klein shot and killed her. Police testified that the other dog was standing a distance away and was not facing the officers, and they also testified that the dog did not move towards them. But the dog did begin barking, and so Klein shot the second dog twice. The dog ran to the furthermost corner of the basement and hid behind a furnace, at which point Officer Case fatally shot her due to, quote, blood coming out of numerous holes in her body. The officers reported that the dog's barking was not only a sign of an imminent threat, but that their presence prevented them from safely searching the home. Judge Eric Clay ruled that not only was this reasonable, but that dogs do prevent officers from safely sweeping a home, especially if they are barking. He also wrote that the officers did not have enough time to come up with a plan to deal with the dogs in any other way. Battle Creek Police Chief Jim Blocker praised the decision for supporting the officers. The court based its decisions on the fact that the Browns could not provide hard evidence that their dogs did not bark at the officers. The Justice Department's Bureau of Justice Statistics released a new study last week detailing their new methodology for counting the number of people killed by police each year. The arrest-related death program was originally launched in 2003, but was temporarily suspended in 2014 after the Bureau became embarrassed when everyone found out what a shitty job they were doing. The new plan is to review open news sources, including news outlets and official agency documents, rather than relying on self-report data from state and local law enforcement. So basically, they plan to do the same thing that the Washington Post and Guardian have been doing. In a preliminary trial run, the new program recorded 270 homicides by officers in 3 months alone last year, while the FBI had previously counted only 442 in all of 2015 using the old methods. Meaning, now that they are Googling, the Bureau learned that the actual number of homicides was more than double what had been previously reported. 7-Eleven convenience stores in Nevada are now offering drone delivery services to customers in their homes. Nevada-based company Flirty is a U.S. drone delivery service that is the first to complete regular commercial deliveries. The company conducted 77 such autonomous missions over weekends in November. The service delivered hot food, flu medicine, and various other items to customers in a trial of the service and got the items to customers in an average of 10 minutes. Flirty and 7-Eleven plan to expand the service to other areas in the coming year. That concludes your Liberty-related news for the week. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all next week. Thanks for watching.